¿Qué pasó, pinche perro? It's your homeboy Quetzalcoatl. Welcome back to the Fuck Your Life Boxing Show. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the recent fight that took place this past weekend between Wladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin. Now, if this video sounds a little bit different than the videos that I usually make, it's because I'm using a different method of recording. I'm going to see how the quality comes out. I don't know how it sounds. Shit, it might sound like I'm doing a motherfucking telephone interview from jail or some shit. Yeah, when I get out, I want to change this shit. I want to get my GED, change my life. But yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, if you didn't watch this fight, you really not missing out on much. The fight was boring as fuck. Povetkin, he tried to fight on the inside, but Wladimir Klitschko fought the most cautious way he could possibly fight, to where he took the least amount of risk. And granted, he dropped Povetkin 4 times in the fight, as Povetkin was dropped in the 2nd round and 3 times, I believe, in the 7th round. The only problem is what made the fight boring was, again, the manner in which Wladimir Klitschko decided to fight. It was a hug fest. Wladimir Klitschko's strategy was basically, all I do is clinch no matter what. And I stay there, and I stay there. I mean, he was holding the whole fucking fight. The whole fight. They should have had stats on his clinching for the fight, man. I mean, it was some of the best clinching of all time that I've seen, pound for pound. If there was one way to describe it, it was hugnificent. But the shit was boring. And Alexander Povetkin landed a couple of good shots, but he wasn't able to build on that success, again, because of the way Klitschko was excessively holding. The referee is partly to blame, because he never really tried to make Wladimir stop clinching so much. And in boxing, you're going to have times where clinching is a normal thing, but that usually happens when the fighter is hurt. If Wladimir was hurt by a big shot and he decides to hold, and he holds until he recovers, then that's acceptable. But when you use clinching as a method to just completely try to nullify the other fighter's aggression and his game plan, that's when it starts getting borderline bullshit. The referee could have made Wladimir stop clinching as much by warning him, or by making them fight out of that clinch. But the referee never seemed to do that. Other fighters in the past have fought in that kind of style. One of the most recent heavyweights that comes to mind is John Ruiz, who, the same way that Wladimir fought, that was pretty much his entire career right there. Again, it's not an exciting style. It's boring as hell, but from what you saw, you have to admit it was effective. Again, this was a boring fucking fight, but I understand why he fought the way he did. I understand that. I can't really hate on Wladimir that much, because Wladimir Klitschko has been stopped, different times, and by journeyman fighters. He was stopped by Lamont Brewster, I believe, in 2004. Corey Sanders knocked him out in 2003, and prior to that, it was a stoppage loss to Ross Purity. So Wladimir Klitschko doesn't have the most stable jaw in the heavyweight division. He's got a glass jaw. So I at least respect him for knowing his limitations, for being honest with himself, and knowing what kind of fighter that he is. You know, he knows that he can't go in there and just brawl with you and exchange shots with you and knock you the fuck out, because if he gets hit with a good shot, it's going to be night-night for his ass. So I can understand why he fought the way he fought, where he's taking very little risk, because he's made mistakes in the past before, to where, such as the Lamont Brewster fight, you know, I don't know if he gassed himself out in that fight. That's what it appeared it to be, that he had some type of stamina or conditioning issues. But, you know, once Lamont Brewster started landing some good shots, you know, Wladimir was out of there. Same thing with Corey Sanders. If Wladimir Klitschko would have went out there and tried to bulldoze Alexander Povetkin, that probably would have fucking happened. So I understand why Wladimir is doing it, but it doesn't mean it's not fucking boring. And from a legacy perspective, looking at it from that angle, I mean, this victory right here, it further cements the dominance that the Klitschko brothers have had in this era. That it does do. You've seen that the Klitschko brothers are the kings of this era in the heavyweight division. There's no denying that. But from when you try to compare them to some of the all-time greats in the heavyweight division, this victory doesn't really help Wladimir Klitschko's case when you're trying to compare him to the all-time greats. This doesn't do anything to give him more credit when you're comparing him to the likes of Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Joe Louis. You know, so some fighters from the past era. You know, when you compare him to Mike Tyson, comparing him to Evander Holyfield, Larry Holmes. You know, I can see all those fighters whooping Wladimir Klitschko's ass. What Povetkin should have done in this fight was he should have made it a rough fucking fight. Now, he tried to here and there, but he should have made it a real sloppy fight. Force Wladimir to fight you. If he wants to hold, well, then fuck it. Wrestle his ass to the ground while he's holding you. Do something to make him uncomfortable and change the way that he's trying to fight you. But Povetkin never did that. And I think that fighters from the past want to let Klitschko get away with this shit, regardless of the size advantage that he has. I mean, you know, Mike Tyson was a small heavyweight. You know, some of the other fighters, such as Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali, were a little bit taller. They're still significantly shorter than Klitschko. But I don't think that the size advantage that they have would be as effective as it is against this era of heavyweights. Because as you've seen, while I give the Klitschko brothers a lot of credit for being dominant, you also have to admit that this era of heavyweights has been very lackluster. And there's no denying that. And I've gotten a lot of negative feedback in the past for saying that from Klitschko fans. And I'm not trying to hate on Klitschko. I'm just being honest. You know, there's not a lot of talent in this era. You know, the gap in talent between the Klitschkos and all the other heavyweights, there's a huge gap. And that's why they've been so dominant. And with this victory, I mean, they pretty much destroyed all the competition. Now you have a younger generation that's starting to come up in Deontay Wilder, and you've got Andy Ruiz coming up, you know, Mexican heavyweight, looked like a little baby bug bean. Dukas Cuavas, though. You know, you got those fighters coming up that may be able to challenge Klitschko, but I don't see either one of them challenging him, either Klitschko, until maybe 1 or 2 years down the line, because they're not ready right now. They fight any of the Klitschkos right now. Either one of them, they're gonna get their ass whooped. And 2 years down the line, I don't know if either one of them will still be fighting. So pretty much, it looks like the Klitschkos, they're pretty much just gonna ride out their career, just doing the same thing that they're doing right now. Now, when I said that they would get their ass whooped against some of the best fighters of all time, best heavyweights, I know for sure Wladimir would. Vitaly, I don't think he would be able to beat the best heavyweights of all time, but he would definitely give him a fight. He'd give him a great fight. Wladimir, he's got a glass jaw, You know, he has more athleticism than Vitaly does, and he's faster, but he's got that glass jaw. Vitaly is built for fucking tough. He could take a fucking punch, and he has high ring IQ, and you know he can give it just as well as he can take it. Has a lot of power in his punches. I think he would have put up some great fights. I'm not sure if he would have won them, but definitely would have been entertaining. But you know, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the legacy that the Klitschkos have left in boxing? What do you think that their future is? Do you see any potential fights for them? And as always, if you like this shit, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is your homeboy Quetzalcoatl signing the fuck on out.